What's up guys, Edgar here, aka Sin Mango, back with another video, and I will be showing you guys how to play Oversoul. This video will cover mostly what the game is about, how to win the game, and other stuff, like card types and things like that. The next video will be about, the main phases of the game, the battle phase and all of that. And I'll be using these two decks here that came in from the Game Crafter. We have the Force of Nature deck and the Burning Power deck. These are the first two trial decks, or starter decks if you will, that are in the game Oversoul. The Burning Power trial deck uses the fire element and focuses on gaining a lot of power to take down your opponent's souls that are really strong. The Force of Nature trial deck uses the nature element and focuses on quickly gathering resources and sending it to your soul gauge, and then using those cards in the soul gauge to bring them back to your hand in order to either play those cards or be able to defend with it. One thing about this deck is that when you're playing with it, you can really sort of plan ahead of your opponent, thinking about what cards to put into your soul gauge and then return to your hand so that you can use it later, especially your spells. So without further ado, let's get into it. So what is Oversoul? Oversoul is a strategy card game with a fun and familiar gameplay with exciting twists. So if you're used to trading card games, then this would be pretty easy to pick up, but there will be some differences than other card games, but it's still pretty familiar. Two players take turns playing cards and dealing damage to each other. The player wins when they have successfully dealt 7 damage to their opponent. The creatures you see in the game are called souls. These souls come from a place known as the Soul Realm, a place of myth and legends that is also connected to our afterlife. So when people pass in our world, they are reincarnated as a soul in the Soul Realm. Each player in the game is known as the Soul Master, and the two must battle it out in order to determine who has the more powerful soul. What you need when you play Oversoul is a deck with at least 40 cards or more. Each deck can only have up to 4 copies of a single card, and a game mat. That part is optional. There are 2 different card types in the Oversoul TCG. These cards are called Souls and Spells. Souls are cards that you can summon to attack and deal damage to your opponent. Spells are cards that can only be played during your turn. They have abilities that can help you depending on the situation. This is how you usually read a card. At the top here, you have the name. Next to it, there's a symbol that indicates what element the card is. That is a fire element. On the other card here, this is the nature element. Underneath the name, you'll see the card type. Over here, it says soul. On this one, it says spell. Next to that is the card's traits. So this spell has the fairy and berserker trait, while this soul has the flame dragon trait. Next to the trait, you'll see the level of the card. For souls, the level tells you how many cards in your soul gauge you need to exhaust in order to summon it. For spells, the level tells you what level your soul gauge has to be in order to play the spell. Over here is the hit. Only souls have a hit. Depending on how many icons are in the hit box determines how much damage the card can do when it attacks an opponent. Here is the text box. This is where you can read the card's ability. Over here at the bottom right corner, you see the power. Only souls have power. All the way at the bottom, there's small typing. That just tells you information about the card's set, rarity, and illustrator. Even though I don't have any cards at the moment, these pages from the rulebook will help me explain to you what the different icons are in the game. There are different icons in Oversoul. Each one means a different thing. These are the element icons. These icons are located at the top right of each card and in the text box of each card. These icons let you know what element the card belongs to. Elements are usually mentioned in arrow brackets whenever they are referred to in the text box, usually in writing rather than the symbol. The first icon is the fire icon. Cards with this icon belong to the fire element. The second is nature. Cards with this icon belong to the nature element. Third is water. Cards with this icon belong to the water element. The next is dark. Cards with this icon belong to the dark element. After that is light. Cards with this element belong to the light element. And last but not least, neutral. Cards with this icon are neutral and do not belong to any element. There are ability icons. These let you know what the conditions are for an ability. These icons usually mention in brackets at the beginning of the ability. Also, brackets at the beginning of an ability either tells you the cost or the conditions required for the ability to activate. The first icon is the when attacking icon. This icon tells that the ability activates when the soul attacks. The ability activates after the soul exhausts and resolves before the soul attacks. The next one is the quick activate ability.
This icon tells that you can activate the ability during your battle phase and anytime during your opponent's turn. Mostly souls have this icon. Blue icon. It is the spell trigger icon. This icon tells that the card has the spell trigger ability. The next icon is a white icon. It is the soul trigger icon. This icon tells that the card has the soul trigger ability. There are different keywords that will appear in text box, so it is important to know what they mean. Sometimes they'll show within the brackets to let you know what the cost or the condition is for the ability to activate. First is exhaust or exhausted. This means to turn the card horizontally. This tells that the card has been used. Next is refresh or refreshed. This means to turn the card vertically. This tells that the card has not been used. The next is destroy or destroyed. When a card is sent from the battlefield to the graveyard by an ability or being attacked, it is destroyed. If it tells you to destroy a card, then that card is then sent to the graveyard. Rush. Souls with this keyword are able to attack on the turn that it was summoned. Adrenaline. Souls with this keyword are refreshed at the end of your turn. Nullify/nullified. To cancel the activation of a spell or ability. Absorb or absorb. Souls with this ability can put a specific number of cards underneath it from their controller's soul gauge. For example, if you control a soul that has Absorb 1 in its ability, that means you get to choose up to one card in your soul gauge and place it underneath that soul. Sometimes when absorbing, a card can specify where you can absorb the card from, so it doesn't always mean you have to absorb a card from your soul gauge. Chain. The cards that are placed underneath a soul when it is absorbed are referred to as a chain. One turn. This keyword is usually located in between brackets before an ability. It means that the specific ability can only be used once per turn. Shield. Souls with this keyword can exhaust itself to redirect an attack to it.
That's it for this video. Stay tuned for the next video where I explain to you how to actually play the game, where I explain the game mat, the different phases, and how to win. I'll even throw in some tips for some of you that play the game.